experience. Okay, then just across the desert, the Raiders are expected to hire the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator and Clint Kubiak as their next head coach. Of course, they cannot do that because Seattle is playing in the Super Bowl this weekend, so they have to wait until after it is completed. Vegas interviewed 15 different candidates, and with Kubiak winning the job, he becomes the franchise's 5th full-time coach since 2001. We started this whole situation a couple of weeks ago with 10 openings in the NFL. That is tied for the most in NFL history. To recap, in case you forgot, here we are. 6 of the 10 head coaches are first-time head coaches. Meanwhile, we got a couple Super Bowl winning head coaches in Mike McCarthy and John Harbaugh right here. Kevin Stefanski, 2-time Coach of the Year, of course. And then you look at Robert Saleh. Obviously worked his magic. He's now with Tennessee, worked his magic with that San Francisco battered defense during this past season. So now as we look at these 10 filled spots in the NFL, which coach do we think is going to have immediate success, Peter?
I'm going to go with Jesse Minter in the Baltimore Ravens. I think that whole operation needed a fresh coat of paint. And Jesse Minter brings a young, vibrant, youthful feel to that Baltimore Ravens franchise. And with him comes a 29-year-old offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, who comes from the Chicago Bears and has been watching and learning under Ben Johnson. Lamar Jackson, this is a window of the next 3 years. Maybe a little bit more, but his peak athletic performance is going to be the next 3 years. They are trying to capitalize on that. They're going youth, they're going exuberance, and they are going with both Declan Doyle and Jesse Minter on a team that has a roster that can compete with anybody. Harbaugh's time came to an end. He's going to be with the Giants. That's fine. Jesse Minter brings a different feel and maybe a different connection with Lamar Jackson, the guy who I think can get them to where they have to go and still has several years left in that window.
First of all, when I thought about the question, I'm thinking, how do we quantify success? You know, when you talk about Buffalo or the Baltimore Ravens, Super Bowl. Like, do we think those guys are going to get them over the top? So for me, I'm going with John Harbaugh because I look at the New York Football Giants as a team that they have talent. They've been floundering. I don't know how many one-score games they've lost, and that is directly attributed to coaching. John Harbaugh will come in and whip those guys into form. That's what I think. I think his hard-nosed discipline, his structure is exactly what the Giants organization need. I'm a big believer in Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart with the right coach, it can be like this year's Drake May.
Are you concerned there's no offensive coordinator yet?
Yeah, well, I think that they'll get the right offensive coordinator because I still think the Giants' job is one of those prime jobs. They have a quarterback, but I think when they make their offensive hire, I think Jackson Dart again next year could be Drake May. I think he has that type of ability. They get Malik Neighbors back. They're going to add to it. I think the Giants are going to make a huge leap next year.
You good, S.A.?
Uh-oh.
So we're just going to ignore all those double-digit leads that Harbaugh lost, Damian Woody? And, oh, by the way, you say you have confidence that they're going to get the right offensive coordinator.
Yep, I do.
How confident were you in Todd Monken? Am I missing something? My God, what's wrong with you this morning?
There's nothing. Oh, there's nothing wrong with me.
At some of the stuff.
You are just
out of your mouth.
No, you are just trying to beat with me for whatever reason it is. He didn't come in hot. I don't know what his problem is with me. What did I do to you, Stephen A?
Listen, I'm just like, what the hell is going on with Damian Woody this morning? I cannot believe the stuff that is coming out of your mouth. My answer to this question is Joe Brady. And the reason why my answer to this is Joe Brady is that what were the Buffalo Bills beforehand? Over the last 6 years, 73-27, best record in football, top-rated offense, especially since he came on board a couple of years ago. From that period of time when he's been on board, November 15th, 2023 to be exact, the brothers' record is 31-10. They're second in the National Football League at 29.1 points per game. And he still has Josh Allen, and one would believe that Bean is going to do his job rather than point to the new head coach and talking about how that's a CEO position. Damn that, Bean. You're the CEO position, Mr. President. Not Coach Brady. It's you. It's you, Mr. Bean. You're the CEO, not him. He already, a game ain't even been played yet. Training camp ain't even start, and he already trying to pass the damn ball. That's your job. That's your job. That's not Joe Brady's job. Joe Brady's job is the coach. You saw what I'm talking about, Peter. He gonna sit up there and talk about the head coach position. It's a CEO position. It's not just about play calling. No, damn it, it's your job. Don't pass it off on the same day McDermott was fired. You were promoted. You weren't just retained. You were promoted. It's your job, not Joe Brady. Joe Brady's job is to coach, and we've seen no indication that he can't. We know he deserves this opportunity, and I think the Buffalo Bills are going to be right in the mix. It's almost a guarantee.
So basically, just judging off y'all, like, so the next step forward for Buffalo is the Super Bowl.
Ravens and Buffalo.
Okay, all right,
I tend to lean towards you, Woody. Like Giants or Ravens, like there's only one way to go, and that's up, because they've been such a dumpster fire lately. Also, not for nothing, the Raiders not only have the #1 overall pick, they have a pick in every single round of the draft. They have Tom Brady helping lead the way a little bit here, and they can only go up. So I would actually say the Raiders.
It's not an overreaction to say that was a dynastic run.
No.
Let's do some overreactions on this Monday with Dan Graziano. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
If someone said, wow, Clint Kubiak and Fernando Mendoza together, they will lead the Raiders to the playoffs. Is that an overreaction?
Yes, this is a team that has a long way to go, and I think it's exciting to talk about a young foundation with not just those two guys, but guys like Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. But they have a ways to go to build that roster back up, and they play in a division where two teams made the playoffs this year, and the other one is literally the Chiefs. So I think it's going to be a pretty tough uphill climb, especially in the early going for the Raiders.
But does starting with the quarterback make sense to D-Wood? Is that the right decision? They've hired the offensive guru. All signs point to taking the quarterback at #1.
They might not be ready per se, but this is absolutely the right move, because you don't know when you'll be in this position to really get the quarterback at the top of the draft again.
Here's the thing, Neek, and we've talked so much this morning about quarterbacks and patience and reclamation projects and all those kinds of things. And I just hope, and look, Fernando Mendoza, super high floor, computer-like processor in his head. I get all that stuff. He's as pro-ready as you can be. But even he is going to require patience, because it is the worst team in the NFL for a reason. And I would be a little bit worried about just throwing him out there week 1 and saying, okay, we got that problem solved. Let's start working on other stuff later.
Yeah, I think he's going to require patience, but more than patience is he's going to require support. The best thing you can do for a young quarterback, honestly, the best thing you can do for any quarterback is take pressure off of them. If you can have the support of getting Ashton Genty and that run game going, and a good offensive line to protect him, and a great defense, which are all things that they don't have now, but if they could get those things, that'll be better for Mendoza's development. He'll turn into the quarterback that you want him to be if you can give him that time that he needs to develop by supporting him.
All right, maybe someday he'll turn into an MVP. That brings us to our next overreaction. Graz, if someone said with his new head coach and a new offensive coordinator next year, Lamar Jackson will win his 3rd MVP. Is that an overreaction?
It's not. Anytime Lamar Jackson has been fully healthy throughout a season, he's been a candidate, if not the winner, of the MVP award. So, no, I don't think much changes for Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. They have some issues to sort out with his contract. They need to get that adjusted to get the cap hit down. But, no, I think if Lamar Jackson has a healthy season, he's always going to be a candidate for MVP.
Nick, it's the first really major upheaval they've had during his tenure there. What is your sense of what it's going to look like around their MVP quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to the coaching or the coaching staff on the offense or their new head coach in Jesse Minter, but Lamar Jackson being an MVP or not MVP candidate is completely dependent on how many games he's healthy enough to play for. He's at that level of quarterback, so I think their concern is more about getting a pass rush without having the blitz on the defense than it is about how good Lamar Jackson is going to play under whatever offensive coordinator they have there, which now is Declan Doyle, right?
Declan Doyle, correct, is the offensive coordinator after Todd Monken took he left, of course, after last year and is now in Cleveland. All right, the last one I want to get to, let's save some time for it. Dan Graziano, with all the upheaval in Philadelphia, if people were to say Nick Sirianni enters next season on a hot seat, is that an overreaction?
I don't think it's an overreaction. If the offense struggles again, right, with a new offensive coordinator again, then I think people will start to look to point the finger there. It sounds crazy. He won the Super Bowl 12 months ago, but it is Philadelphia, and there have been a lot of changes there on the coaching staff. So I don't think it's ridiculous to think that we would be having this conversation. If the Eagles had a bad season next year, I don't think it's ridiculous to think we'd be having this conversation.
And they did make a change not too far removed from Doug Peterson winning a Super Bowl, right?
That's correct.
They're a decisive organization, and I mean that in a positive way.
Yes.
They make pro